Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So Donald Trump's approval rating is on the upswing and even CNN is forced to cover it, and they're coping about it, and that we know, but it is true that Donald Trump is seeing some resurgence of his approval rating. And a lot of Democrats were hoping, it's going to be the end of Trump's presidency. He's falling off a cliff. He's going to fall into the 30s. Yeah, hasn't happened. He was down in the aggregate because of some polls, many of whom were not really all that solid when you looked into them. They were really undersampling voters who voted for Trump in the 2024 election. On top of it, they claim they found this mythical pool of new voters that never voted before that all magically hate Trump, like in the New York Times poll that showed him underwater by 12. But, it is true that he went in the aggregate from, in the positives when he first took office, then he was down there at like -7, -8. Now that's changing. Now he is back to relatively even, and there's a couple polls in the aggregate, if you want to look at them, that, haven't quite fallen out yet, but when they do, these last three polls, when they're out of the aggregate, Donald Trump's approval rating, it might be like -1, -2. That's within the margin of error. If you apply the error of polling that we saw in 2024, well, at that stage in the game, he would be even, if not above water. So people are enjoying the job that he's done, especially now that the tariffs are off, the markets are recovering, or at least they're lower. He wants tariffs, but he wants a, sensibly negotiated rate that kind of allows him to make a trade deal from here. It's part of how he just typically does business. But I want to play the CNN clip just to kind of showcase what is going on here and how CNN is covering Donald Trump's approval rating. Take a listen.
I think it's time for a bit of a reality check, right? We were going to late April. Donald Trump's approval rating, his net approval seemed to be falling. He seemed to be adios amigos. People were writing his political obituary. He is rising from the dead. Look at this. Hello, Trump's net approval rating among voters. This is the Reuters Ipsos polling. Look at this. In late April, he was 8 points underwater. But look at where he was in the most recent poll among voters. He's up 7 points to a -1 point net favorability rating. This is not the picture I think a lot of people were thinking that we would be painting in late April. I think a lot of people expected his approval rating to keep dropping, but at least according to Reuters Ipsos, it's in fact rising.
So you look at that. And by the way, I don't really think that his approval rating went up by 7% over the span of several weeks. I think there's something else at play here. Response bias is at play because you had the tariffs. You had a lot of people on the left that are angry because it's a reason for them to be angry and claim that Donald Trump is tanking the economy, they said, despite the fact that we have, jobs numbers that look great compared to what we were getting in the previous administration, where all the jobs went to non-citizens, basically. And on top of it, inflation is cooling a little bit. And you're now seeing the fact that the new reports are showing that the initial fears of tariff inflation were vastly overblown. Even Axios has been forced to report on that. All that stuff has kind of allowed for that response bias to die down. And if anything, people are happy that he's able to strike some sort of deal. The tariffs on China in some capacity are actually popular depending on how they're polled, because China's seen as an adversary. And now that they're not going to be like 145%, they're going to be something closer to 30%. And he's working to make a deal, and there's going to be some exemptions to that. It's definitely something that a lot of people are going to look at more favorably. So regardless, that's just how Donald Trump does business. He understands there's going to be backlash from some of his initial proposals, but he just likes to remain unpredictable. But regardless, the main takeaway from this is that his approval rating is rising. It's on the upswing. It's not falling. And that's a very good thing. And we could talk more about this and what exactly is going on. But I wanted to finish playing this clip because we're just getting started. So take a listen.
Put this then in a larger perspective, Harry.
Yeah, okay. So, this is just one poll, right? But let's take a look across an aggregate of polls. What are we seeing here? And I want to compare both to where Donald Trump is now versus where he was in late April, as well as where he was at this point in term number one. What you see is at -6 points, he is a little bit worse off than he is in the Ipsos Reuters polling, but he is considerably better than he was in late April when he was 9 points underwater. And more than that, look at this. He's nearly 10 points better than he was back in May 16th of 2017 in his first term. So what we see is Donald Trump's not just doing better than he was doing in late April of 2025, he's doing considerably better than he was doing at this point in term number one, about 10 points better than he was doing at this point in term number one.
And that's absolutely huge, because if you look at term number one, Donald Trump had a relatively strong economy, and now the economy in a lot of people's eyes has not exactly been as strong as it was in term number one. Obviously, maybe there's signs that it's getting better, and that's true, but still, you have a lot of room to grow for Donald Trump. If he's already 10 points above where he was in May 2017, that's huge, and it's also huge for Republicans ahead of 2026 because of the fact that you have the midterms coming up, and if Trump is 10 points better in terms of his approval rating, instead of being down by like 10, like he was in November of 2018, let's say he's breaking even, which a lot can change between now and then. But if that happens, that is absolutely huge for Donald Trump, because it would showcase that there's a very good chance, especially given the maps, and we talked about this in the previous video, that not only will Republicans likely hold the Senate no matter what, but there's a good chance they hold their majority in the House, if not expand their majority in the House, if Donald Trump is popular. And we'll talk about all this and more in a second, but we got to do a quick ad break because I have to tell you guys a little bit more about our friends over at C60 Evo. Listen, friends, what I do every day is not easy. Digging into the truth, exposing the lies, pulling back the curtain on what they don't want you to know. It takes serious focus, serious energy. This job is not for the weak. It's not for the distracted. I'm up late. I'm up early. I got to stay sharp because you rely on me to bring you the truth. So I'll tell you something. There's one thing that I do take every day to make sure that I've got mental clarity and drive to deliver this show at 110%. It's called C60 Evo Olive Oil. No, it's not another gimmick. It's not snake oil. It's real science, real results, and it fuels the fight that I bring to you guys every day. In just a minute, we're going to break down exactly what's in it, why it works, and share some shocking testimonials from people like you and me, people who need to stay focused and energized in a world designed to distract and drain us. So don't go anywhere, because this might just be the edge you've been looking for. Chris, why does it work so well?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. The reality is our most consistent testimonial with our product is people take it in the morning, they report mental focus and energy during the day, and better sleep that night. So that's a fantastic result and quite unusual if you think about a supplement. You know, you started off, you are focused, you are delivering value. There's a lot of research going on in what you do. You need that focus, you need that energy, but also imagine you getting better sleep. Like, that's kind of fantastic. What we're really talking about is this molecule. So if you happen to be listening, I'm holding up a model of a molecule. The best way to describe it is it looks like a soccer ball where the lines on the soccer ball represent the bonds between the carbon atoms. This has 60 carbon atoms. We call it ESS 60, of course, 60 because of the 60 carbon atoms. Just real quick kind of background on this. The molecule was discovered in 1985. The three scientists who discovered the molecule won the Nobel Prize for the discovery in 1996. So a short 11 years from discovery to being awarded the Nobel Prize. They actually thought the molecule would be toxic. They put the molecule in a toxicity study, and instead of being toxic, the test subjects that they gave it to, in this case it was Wistar rats, they lived 90% longer than the control group. So literally the single longest longevity experimental result on mammals in history, and it's peer-reviewed published research, the kind of research that you would hang your MAGA hat on, right? Like, that's the kind of right research. And actually MAHA would be better, make America healthy again in this particular case. What we believe this molecule does, well, we know from peer-reviewed published research that it gets into the mitochondria. We also know that it can hold up to 6 negatively charged particles. I'm not going to get too much into the kind of geeky science. Maybe we'll do that at some other time. But what it does is, well, first, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of every cell, and every cell in your body has between 50 and 5,000 mitochondria. except for your blood cells, which have 0, and your brain and neurons, which have 2 million. That's how much energy your nervous system uses relative to your other systems. And you're talking about focus, you're talking about brain power, you're talking about energy. I did say there's 2 million mitochondria in your brain and neurons. What we know this molecule can do is get into the mitochondria. What we believe it does in the mitochondria is absolutely fantastic. When you have a stressed mitochondria, it is producing a negative byproduct. And we believe this ESS60 molecule, this is our boss theory, buffering oxidative stress system, kind of a cool theory. We believe this molecule is holding on to those negatively charged particles, holding on to those negative byproducts of stressed mitochondria. And you can imagine if we're reducing the negative impact of mitochondria as it's producing energy in every cell in your body, we're going to get head-to-toe testimonials. We can talk about really so many different testimonials. We're here to talk about focus, talk about energy, talk about sleep. That is our most consistent testimonial. And frankly, there's no surprise because there's 2 million mitochondria in your cells. A lot of supplements are extremely proud to say that they operate at the cellular level, and they should be proud of that. But we believe with this boss theory and this ESS60 molecule that we're operating at the subcellular level, that we're having that positive impact on the mitochondria. And that's really why this works so well.
Absolutely. It does definitely help focus. I've taken it myself. I'd highly recommend it. And that's definitely something that I've realized when I take it. It's always like I just feel like I'm laser focused. I feel like I can be more productive, get my work done, better sleep, etc. There's so many positive things that can come out of it. And you guys can get it too at, I believe the link is c60evo.com/redeaglepolitics. You could go there. You can save. The link is in the description and pin comment down below. All right, guys, back to the video. We're going to keep playing this clip, and then there's a couple other things that we need to take a look at that are really important. So take a listen to this.
Vacuum -6 isn't good, but in Trumpian terms, against himself, it's actually a pretty good position for him to be in politically compared to himself.
Exactly right. This is considerably higher than he has traditionally been.
So the big question here is why, Harry? Why did it bottom out? Why might it be rising?
Okay, why? Well, take a look at the chance of a recession. It's actually falling. The chance of a recession is falling. In late April, it was 60% according to J.P. Morgan. Look at where it is now. It's less than 50%. How about Goldman Sachs? You see the same thing. 45%, now falling to 35%. The bottom line is, it is the economy, the economy, the economy. As the chance of a recession has fallen, as the trade wars have kind of collapsed a little bit, at least with China, Trump trying to make a deal, we do see that I do think that the voters are responding to this, and therefore we're seeing Trump's approval rating going up.
The tariffs were really hurting him, and he backed off, and it may be helping him politically now.
Sometimes Donald Trump has some pretty good political instincts.
So you could see they're even saying, yeah, he has these good political instincts. He's got like this art of the deal thing going on. And in turn, you had a lot of initial fear and panic, and he's able to bait the other side well because it's like, oh, Donald Trump is going to destroy the economy with all these tariffs. You're going to have massive inflation. And instead, you have a lot of imports. You have a surplus, if anything, and then you see the tariffs get reduced to a more like sensible level that you can kind of work with and get deals done to bring jobs back to America in the process. And still, like the initial shockwave, it's not exactly going to be viewed the same. And a lot of Democrats are just going to have a lot of egg on their face because they'll make these outlandish claims because Trump effectively has baited them. And this is another important piece of data here, which is absolutely astounding, that came out today from the Harvard-Harris poll. How strong do you believe that the U.S. economy is today? 51% say strong, and this is after the recent jobs report. 49% say weak. And definitely, I think there's a little bit more nuance here. There's definitely many encouraging parts of the economy, and we could build off of that, and all of that is true. It's kind of hard to put in a binary, but when people are basically forced to pick a side, either strong or weak, weak was the winner. Usually it was like 54 to 46 in the last poll. Now it's 51 to 49 strong, which is absolutely huge. But on top of it, let's look at Donald Trump's approval rating. It's currently now on RCP, just minus 3.3, but not just his approval rating. which, by the way, was 15 points on net better than Biden's. But the direction of the country, wrong track is ahead, but wrong track has always been ahead since they've tracked this. People just tend to be very cynical. But for the first time, wrong track is below 50%. Wrong track has not really been this low ever. Even like when you talk about COVID ending, that was like the peak, essentially, where you had wrong track at like 50%. And that's like their low point. Right now, it's below 50%. Donald Trump's in office, right direction, 43% wrong track, below 50%. That spread is just minus 6.5. It's never really been this low. If you look at the average under Biden, it was like minus 45. Now that's down to single digits, which rivals the, early onset point of Obama's first term, when he was relatively popular. So when you look at this 43 to 49.6, that's not like the best spread you could think of on the surface, but when you look into the data, that's astoundingly good. And there's a lot of room for improvement, and we could look into this because Donald Trump, I think that one of the main reasons why his approval rating is going up is because people like to see you do things. He did a lot of things when he took office via executive order, but once that's done, it's just like, what exactly is going on? The media is going to dominate the narrative. Now he's getting a lot done with some of these trade deals, and then you look at what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. Now there's going to be talks. We're going to start negotiations towards a ceasefire and an end to the war, which is absolutely huge. If Donald Trump gets this done, that would be a massive, massive, massive victory for his foreign policy, getting this settled, possibly getting the conflict in Gaza settled. He's done the rounds in the Middle East. He's making deals with other countries. He wants to expand the Abraham Accords that Biden basically ruined because he wasn't able to effectively enforce them because he was a weak leader. Donald Trump, he's being a strong leader. He's being strong. He's, talking tough to Zelensky, talking tough to Putin, basically saying, you know what, you guys got to get this thing settled, and we got to make deals, and it's got to be economically beneficial for everybody, and we want, peace in our time, essentially, peace through strength. Can we get it done? Well, Donald Trump is trying to get it done. And if he's able to get this done, that would be massive. But also the big, beautiful bill, this is another thing that is going to be huge. And you look at this, it just cleared a hurdle. It possibly is going to pass in the House. And you look at it, once in a generation opportunity to help restore our economy to greatness and solidify America's new golden age. You have reports that are saying it could create 4 million jobs. You're talking about $6,000 to $11,000 in higher wages per worker in the long-term impact that you see, higher take-home pay, more investment, etc. A lot of new housing that could be created. Housing costs are out of control. So if he's able to get this done, and at least you have the tax cuts extended for the middle class, that would be absolutely huge for America as a whole if he's able to do it, and it's going to make him more popular because people don't want their taxes to go up, plain and simple. So if he's able to pass this, which has a lot of benefit for our country in it, you're talking about remittance taxes. That's definitely a way where he could basically get Mexico to pay for the wall, as he talked about in 2016 on the campaign trail. A lot of positive data here, and a lot more possibly could be coming. But Donald Trump's approval rating, it's on the upswing. Americans are viewing the future brighter than they ever really have since the direction of the country polls have been tracked. And what exactly is the Democrats' move from here? We'll have to wait and see. But Donald Trump keeps posting victory after victory, and it's showing up in the polling. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.